Welcome to the Challenging the Way We Age podcast, hosted by the Mavericks of Senior Living, Francis and Catherine, focusing on creativity, ingenuity, and inspiration to educate and inspire changes in the senior experience, breaking the status quo. We want to thank our supporters, Assured Assisted Living, Serenity App, Sevens Home Care, and Sevens Residential Memory Care. Now get ready for the next episode.
Hey everyone, welcome. We are here at Senior Living Transformation Summit in Boston, Massachusetts. And right now we are talking with Kyle Rand, the co-founder and CEO of Rendever.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you. So tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got into senior living, and where the name Rendever comes from.
Good questions. Good place to start. So as you said, my name is Kyle Rand, one of the co-founders and CEO of Rendever. My story went all over the place, but I really started in senior living as a kid. I used to spend that's a good question. Probably like 13 years old is when I started.
Wow.
So we used to spend all of our summers going to a local senior living community that had an in-house ice cream parlor.
No, isn't that cool? That's
So
cool.
was it in the neighborhood?
It was in the neighborhood.
And it was all the neighborhood kids would go and have ice cream.
Me and three of my best friends would go every single week. We would set up shop and we would scoop out ice cream for all the residents.
That's awesome.
And eat a lot of ice cream
Oh, I'm
ourselves.
sorry. You set up the shop. It wasn't an ice cream shop
it was
in there.
it was in-house. We had to get all the big old things from the big freezers outside, bring them in, get the scoops prepared, do all of that.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. What a brilliant idea.
What city or what state?
Rochester, New York.
All right.
Is it warm in the summer in Rochester?
Yeah, it's warmer than in the winter.
Okay. Good point. Okay, so tell us, where did the name Rendever come from?
So, can I tell you the rest of my story before?
No.
There was a
Okay,
lot
go ahead.
between being a 13-year-old scooping ice cream
I
and then
suppose.
starting Rendever.
That's
Yes.
fair. That's fair.
Fill in the blank.
All right, let me fill in a few blanks. So then I went to school. I went to Duke, down in an actually warm place in the U.S., and studied cognitive decline in the aging population, as well as neuroengineering. So I had to take a few physics classes myself.
Yeah, neuroengineering. That's kind of slick.
It was slick.
Okay.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It's an interesting combination.
It is.
Why the combination?
Yeah.
I really like problem solving,
Okay.
which is where the engineering side came in. And then I had to, as part of the engineering degree, had to take an intro science class. And I chose neuro as my intro science class, and I fell in love. So I decided to take neuro as a second major, and then really just ended up working in a cognitive neuro lab and a neuroengineering lab.
That's so cool.
Spent all of my time in the lab.
So when you were looking at the neuro, what were you guys looking at? A broad spectrum, very specific aspects. What were you guys doing?
Yeah, so on the cognitive side, we were doing FMRI studies.
Can you elaborate?
For our audience.
Yeah, what's an FMRI study?
Okay, fMRI is a functional MRI machine, magnetic resonance imaging. So what we would do is we were specifically looking at cognitive decline in the aging population, but specifically looking at how structural changes in the brain correlated with functional deficits. So we were looking at, there's a concept called cognitive load, which is when you're asking people to remember X, Y, Z facts and then have to spit them back out, how increasing cognitive load led to worse economic-based decision-making.
Wow.
So we did a lot for that. There was a lot that we did, but for me, I was coding these experiments and then sitting down with 65 plus, running them through these awfully designed tech paradigms, and got to really see the issues with poor human-computer interaction design in this population firsthand.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So then from there, what's next?
From there, right around the time that I was graduating, my grandma was diagnosed with her second round of cancer.
Wow.
And my parents, my aunt and my uncle decided to move her into a senior living community. And it didn't go well. And I experienced it, one level removed, but I will never forget how hard it was, not only on my parents, not only on my aunt and my uncle, but on their dynamics too.
Yeah.
And as a result, on the dynamics of the cousins, everyone truly was affected because it was such a bad experience. And, we started looking into what happened to her. Is she spent all of her time in her room watching TV, totally isolated.
Yeah.
And when we started looking into the data, what we saw was that this happens far too frequently. And when you look at the impact of it on this population, the comorbidities include increases in risk of stroke, in heart attack, in rates of infections, in earlier onset in cognitive decline, and the rate of cognitive decline, all these comorbidities that, you put them all together, and separate studies have found a 30 to 50% increase in mortality rates.
That high?
All stemming from social isolation.
Wow. I mean, I knew it was bad. I didn't realize it was 30 to 50. I mean, I thought it was in the 20s, but wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
it can get pretty bad.
And that's an interesting story because, I mean, I got into this because of my two grandfathers. And so, and my grandmother's now 92, and the stress I see on my mom, I mean, it's through the roof, which has an impact on us and her husband and my dad. You're right. That aging not done, planned out, or as best you can, it can have an impact on everybody.
Yeah. And I think what's fascinating about this industry is that, weirdly, like, everybody that you talk to, I think, has a story like this.
Yeah.
Like, they have a grandma, they have a grandfather, like, they've been through the process, which is why I think this industry is so full of love and like passion and compassion in every single way.
True, yeah.
So a big part of VR and virtual experiences broadly is rendering. So game engines have to do a lot of rendering anytime you're making a new environment. And what we say is that we, as a company, render experiences forever. So we're rendering forever.
That's cool.
Rendever.
I
love it.
I love it.
So let's talk more about the isolation. How does VR actually help with isolation? It's a technology that you put on and then you're by yourself. So tell us more about that.
Because my first thought is of an older adult is, well, won't it make them feel more enclosed, right? So I think and that's not true. So I kind of want to, hopefully you'll dispel that myth that's out there.
Yeah. I think that it's really easy to think about VR, and specifically if you have kids in your life who play VR and they're doing video games and they put one of these headsets on and then they're just in a totally separate world. Right. It's like, okay, time for dinner, and they never show up, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy to think about that. But what we've actually done is we've taken social isolation as our core issue and made sure that every single thing that we do is all about allowing people to connect through the power of shared experiences.
Oh, that's cool.
And as a company, our kind of core hypothesis is that all human relationships are founded on shared positive experiences. So the three of us right now are having this lovely positive experience being on this podcast together. Right. A lot of senior living communities, the experiences that they have are limited to bingo or arts and crafts or rare
activities.
Visits. Yeah. So
I'm still not drawing the picture.
Let me continue.
Okay.
I got this.
All right.
So imagine this. Imagine rather than going, 10 a.m. to a bingo session and doing the same bingo cards day after day, you actually go down to the lounge, sit on a nice comfortable chair. You and 4 of your neighbors all put on this headset, and then you're all transported together to stand on top of the Eiffel Tower.
Together.
That's what's cool.
To go somewhere that maybe you have always wanted to go in your life,
but you're
and
going
have not been able to visit
together.
And now you're going with friends. Your current friends.
With your current friends or people that you may not have had a actual conversation with. You may live right next to each other but have never really talked about anything significant. All of a sudden you're in Paris together. Like, what else is there to talk about other than your favorite memory when you were young, falling in love, standing next to the Eiffel Tower?
The conversations that you could stimulate from that? I mean, and giving our older adults the gift of seeing things they may have never been able to or even knew what was out there when they were growing up. I mean,
or revisiting memories, places that they know and love and had good memories.
That's cool.
I wonder how that would impact Alzheimer's.
Or walking them down their old house street to their house, when they were a toddler, or not toddler, but an older or a child of some type, and think of the memories, the positive memories you could stimulate. I mean, this has endless possibilities.
Do you have data around this yet, or are you new enough that's not quite there?
Yeah. So one of the earliest things that we did was we did a study with MIT Age Lab and Benchmark Senior Living, and we studied exactly this. It was, can we actually create new connections through the power of these shared virtual experiences? And VR is important because it's immersive. You really feel like you're there.
Right.
And what we found was after just 2 weeks, the group that was doing these shared VR experiences had a statistically significant decrease in their depression scores.
Wow.
Increases in multiple levels of social well-being, and most interestingly, increase in feelings of trust. So they were actually starting to trust each other more having been on these experiences together.
Cool.
Of course, because now they have shared experience
Now
and
shared
they know the other
memories
person.
and shared memories.
Yeah, and knowing the other person, I think, is huge. One of our coolest features is called Search. You can literally go and type in any single address, and we can bring you there in VR. So you can take people back to their childhood home, back to their college campus, back to where they got married, their honeymoon, like whatever it is, bring them in VR. And when you see that life size right in front of you, like the stories just start spilling out.
What about sporting events? Can you take them to like sports stadiums or things like that as well?
As you can imagine, there's some limitation with licensing with groups like the NFL. But one of the coolest partnerships that we did last year was being here in Boston and being based in Boston, once the Patriots won the Super Bowl, I texted one of our mentors and I was like, we really want to get on the Patriots parade. And I kid you not, an hour later, I get a call from the mayor's office being like, hey, what do you want? And then the next day, our newest employee was on the very first float in the Patriots parade, capturing it all in VR. So you had these millions of people just going crazy that the Pats just won the Super Bowl. You had confetti flying everywhere, there was Gronk signing a football.
But think of how cool that is.
Absolutely. How do you capture that? So what did he bring with him on the float?
So there's 360 cameras. There's a huge array of them, but they're these kind of crazy looking alien things where it's this big ball with 6 eyeballs, I would call them, and then a crazy little toupee mic. They're very expensive and very heavy. But
so your newest employee is very strong.
Very strong. Very strong. We tend to mount them in smart ways.
Yes, I imagine. So you capture it, and then do you have it forever?
Yes.
Okay, so at any time you could go back, one of your clients could go back and revisit the Patriots parade.
Totally.
God, that is awesome.
That is phenomenal.
With all that kind of data you're collecting, images, videos, how does it work for senior living? Where is it in the business of long-term or aging?
Yeah, so let me explain kind of what it looks like and then kind of why I think it matters. So what it looks like, a typical senior living community will get set up with a system of anywhere from 4 to 10 headsets is kind of our typical rollout. And then every week, at least once a week on their calendar, they'll have whatever session laid out. Residents will come in, they'll all sit around a table, somewhere nice, comfortable. They'll all put the headset on, and then a staff has a tablet. And the staff is able to choose from, our entire library of experiences. We have the largest library of VR experiences, I think, out of any VR group, not even just in senior living.
Wow.
It's pretty expansive. And then the staff get to lead the experience. They press play. And then from the staff side, they have these conversational prompts and dialogues and ways to actually get people to talk.
Oh.
So that not only the residents are kind of experiencing it, but they're also having a conversation. And for us, that's really, really the key. Because if you're just going to put someone in a headset and let them sit there,
they're still isolated.
They're isolated. If you put a group of people in a headset and you lead a productive, engaging conversation, the magic happens when they take that headset off. They then walk to lunch, sit next to each other, and continue the conversation, right? They formed that new connection.
So the staff member is part of the experience as well?
Yes. Okay. Staff is key in delivering something that's really unique and positive. And they love delivering it.
And they're seeing the video on the tablet that they're seeing in the headsets.
Yeah, and important to know, we have way more than just a library of videos. We have all sorts of content. But whatever experience is playing, yes, they get to see it on the tablet. And they can even cast that tablet to a TV in the room. So anyone who's not really comfortable wearing VR can still be a part of the experience and be a part of the conversation.
Interesting.
That's cool.
We've designed this all for senior living because we care a lot about senior living and we understand each friction point and have designed the solution around it.
To me, being able to not have somebody in a headset, like a resident living with dementia, that maybe they're more claustrophobic or they're just having a bad day, they can still participate, which is the whole goal, is that sense of purpose and belonging. That's pretty cool.
What kind of roadblocks do you run into trying to roll this out to senior living?
Yeah, I think it kind of boils down to, now people are excited. Okay. Everyone, we've been around for almost 4 years now. Early on, it was a lot of pushing against these concrete walls to get people to accept the idea that VR could actually be positive. And across those years, we've collected videos and photos and all this anecdotal, exciting evidence that people are excited, the industry is excited. I think what we're helping a lot of our clients and prospective clients understand is, what is the business case here, right? It's one thing to think, oh, great, this is just entertainment programming. And if you go in with that mindset, you're not going to you're not going to use it in the right way. You're not going to really value it in the right way. So I think what we see and what we're starting to actually see the industry understand and really pick up, because all these conversations are happening at events like this, is that the power of senior living is that we're providing communities. right? Everyone hates the F word. We don't use the F word.
Right.
No.
But you need to actually be providing communities.
Right.
And the kind of programming that you can do with Rendever is really building a proper community. So if you think about that, you think about an investment in any sort of resident engagement technology that's really going to build a thriving, happy location. That means that every prospect that walks in, every family member that of a resident that you have, like, they're going to see nothing but happiness and excitement and joy. And that's what you're looking for. If you're going to move a loved one into a community, you're looking for those feelings. And when you can really provide and build those with Rendever.
So we have, our audience is quite broad in senior care. Some of them are the smaller group homes versus the large communities. Are you affordable for the smaller group homes?
So I would say we operate in a lot more larger scale communities, like individual ALs, CCRCs. The smaller group homes, when you're thinking about larger RALs, maybe a little bit expensive, but it kind of depends on where they fit within the market, to be honest.
Okay.
And I think, too, when you're talking about transformation and things like this, I think it comes down to, does the organization want to be a trendsetter or reactive? And I think right now, even for big, small, because, I have 10 8 to 12 bed facilities, so about 89 residents we're licensed for. This is something I'm very intrigued by, because I think someone out there in our space has to not only focus on the care that we can offer in the small care homes, but the experience. And this truly values what matters most to why we do the care is the residents. So we have to step outside of that and look at this activity, this engagement. Because, for our group in 2020 here, it's the year of purpose. We have to create a sense of purpose for our residents. And to me, this seems like no better way than giving them the gift of doing things they might not have been able to do and now maybe physically or mentally can't. So I think we all have to look at our capital expenditures and figure out how we can improve the lives on a daily basis.
I think it's wonderful. It's very exciting. So, and we understand you just got some NIH funding.
Yes.
First of all, describe what NIH is for our audience.
Yeah, so the NIH is the National Institutes of Health. So we got funding directly through the National Institutes on Aging.
That's awesome.
It took about 2.5 years to get this grant funded.
Wow.
It's a lot of time, a lot of commitment.
Yeah.
They really look for that.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is, we have all these communities doing these amazing resident engagement programs. We're kind of evolving that into virtual family engagement.
Oh.
So the study that we're doing is we have communities operated by SRG out in California.
What's SRG?
Operator group.
Oh, okay.
Operator group. And there are residents of senior living communities, and their family members from afar are doing group programming sessions together. So they'll do things like check off bucket list items where they're not physically co-located, right? Someone's in a community, someone's halfway across the U.S.
Do they both have headsets?
They're both wearing headsets. They're talking to each other
That
through
could
the
be
headsets.
life-changing.
And they're doing these bucket list items together. Totally removing the physical barrier. They just get to have fun together.
I just got excited that to me is, because the last memory I really have of my grandmother, who's now 92, is we went to Italy as my parents, my girlfriend, my wife now at the time, and my grandmother, who was, 84 at the time. First time she ever got out of the country. It's her last. She got a passport when she was 84 years old to go back to Italy, where she was from.
Amazing.
But I'm just thinking now at 92, I'd love to give her that gift again, even though flying isn't probably ideal and some cognitive issues. But and my mom could go with her. That to me is the coolest thing. That is all. I want to have to know more how that ends up working.
Yeah, you'll have to try it. So what's cool is not only that, it's not just bucket list items, but they also have on our family platform, they have an ability to go in and make these kind of like life journeys through the search feature where you're going to all these key locations and then they're revisiting all of them together. So you're giving that resident the ability to share their life story through an experience where they're fully immersed in that component of their life.
That's amazing.
And I'm telling you, those sessions last for an hour and a half.
What?
People just like the memories. They just come up.
Do.
It's the most relevant visual stimuli to your entire visual field is your childhood home.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And then the third part is that they actually have a shared family room that they can enter together. And they can look at family photos and watch old family videos
oh my God.
together. So they're sitting on a virtual couch together, big TVs playing these videos, and they're talking about them
together, wherever they are.
Wherever they are.
And slides, because my dad had slides.
Mm-hmm. Everything.
We would run when the S word came out. So.
Everything.
Is that the machine that kind of spun a little bit?
Oh, my God.
Kind of, yeah.
Good.
That.
Maybe we should get one of those in the environment.
Yeah. So, Kyle, this is, first of all, I think we both have chills. This is unbelievable what you're doing.
Yeah, this is
I want to say huge congratulations to you.
Thank you.
This is an amazing use of technology to bring people joy that they couldn't otherwise get.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously you're definitely a trailblazer. You're really pushing the envelope. So who would you consider a maverick in your life?
This is actually a really good question, and it's kind of something. So one of our key questions during our hiring process is, where did you learn your work ethic from? And I think that's kind of the most important thing. So I think for me, biggest maverick in my life was actually, I grew up doing Taekwondo.
Okay.
And I did competitive Taekwondo up until about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
And my childhood Taekwondo master taught me literally everything I know. Not literally, obviously. It's everybody, whatever. But in a professional sense, taught me everything I know about what it means to have a solid, incredible work ethic and like really treat people and treat the people that you're working with and the people that you're working for in the highest regards.
That's cool.
And do so just like with passion and respect and integrity and like everything like at the forefront of your mind and everything.
And what's his name?
His name's Master Kim.
Master Kim.
Shout
out Master Kim.
Love Master Kim.
That's
wonderful.
Awesome.
And do you tell him this?
Yes.
Okay.
He knows.
That's wonderful. Well, I hope he's listening so he hears it one more time.
We started a 501c3 together last year. Like, we're very close.
Oh,
he knows I respect and love him.
Cool.
It's really wonderful. So, after the conversations that we've had today, what action would you ask our audience to take?
That's a good question. I think from a senior living perspective, I think really thinking about what it means to provide an experience. I think if you ask us, we are an experience platform. And if you ask anybody in the senior living industry, like, should you do a better job or could you do a better job selling? It's really the experience. And when you think about the modern day consumer, they're looking for not just quality of care. We hopefully trust at this point that you're going to get quality of care. How do you get quality of experience?
Wow.
So let me ask a question. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And we spoke with Jill Vitale Awesome of the Eden Alternative. And one of her kind of things is there's a lot of hospitality in this industry.
Right.
Great, wonderful. Yes, we need to design experiences, but is it really our job to design the experience? We're not Walt Disney. We don't want to give them that kind of experience, but let them design their own experience. Our job is to create the opportunity for them to have an experience. So I think this fits in so beautifully.
But I would argue that this is not this gives them a tool to make their own experience.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the point. Is this actually creates that possibility?
Correct.
For them to go to Paris to revisit their old home, their old elementary
and that's
school.
why I love it, because if you think about it, hey, we're all going to go to the play this week. That's not the residents necessarily telling us what experience they want.
Right.
It's us offering them an experience. But here you could tweak it for every other resident or every resident. You could tweak
and
this.
they could all go to to Disneyland if they wanted to, right?
They could. Yeah, I mean, our library of experiences is huge. It's growing. We're doing new experience releases like twice a month minimum.
Wow. Jeez.
And what we really think is we're empowering communities to take whatever experience they want, right?
Yeah.
And we're empowering staff to deliver something really meaningful and special. And that allows residents to then ask for what is that meaningful, special thing that we want.
Charge based on library size,
Nope.
picks of library? Okay,
Basic.
so you get the whole library.
You get it all.
Okay.
We want you to have it all.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
We want residents to have it all,
Right.
most important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is going to be a redundant question, but I really want to highlight this. How are you creating hope? I know how you're doing it, but I really want to hammer that point home for our listeners is how are you creating hope?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think my favorite kind of concept in this industry is all about living with dignity. And a big part of living with dignity is understanding what 80 years plus of life beforehand have been and making sure that that's possible. So when you think about 80 years of living to all of a sudden being more or less confined to a way smaller physical boundary, that's tough, right? So you can live with dignity and hope
Right.
through having an opportunity to actually see every single part of the world, right? We're reopening that right back up. We're expanding residents' worlds in every way.
I'm really interested in the impact that it will have on cognition as well, because it will fire up neurons that maybe aren't firing right now or firing so
And
well.
my neurons are firing right now because I got tons of ideas.
I know.
This
I'm
is just
so
exciting.
shocked, Francis. I can't believe this is giving you ideas.
This is so
It's
cool.
shocking.
I really appreciate. I genuinely mean, Kyle. This is awesome what you're doing. I can't thank you enough for being kind of one of the forward thinkers and the innovators to push this technology in such a welcoming way.
Thank you.
That I find it amazing. So, how do our listeners learn more about Rendever and about you? What are ways they can connect?
Yeah, come to our website, rendever.com. Do I have to spell it?
No, we'll put it on the show notes.
We'll put it on the show notes.
Yeah,
rendever.com. Follow us, Instagram, Twitter, everything. Rendever Health.
It's all
we're
out
always
there.
doing a lot, and we're always sharing a lot of really fun images of residents smiling in VR.
Cool.
So
love it.
All right. Thank you,
Love it.
Kyle, for what you're doing, and thanks for taking a few minutes and sitting down and teaching us about the possibilities of Rendever and virtual reality for our amazing older adults.
Thank you both.
Keep being a maverick.
Yes.
Keep blazing that trail.
Thank you.
Thank you.